Welcome to Wednesday's installment of the show. Today's show is about changing the way confrontations occur. How many times have you been trying to get your son or daughter out the door on time, or get them to do their chores, put their laundry in the dirty clothes basket, make their beds, keep their room straight? And they begin to push your buttons, and as a response you push theirs. And our emotions start getting involved. Things escalate. When our emotions get involved as a parent, it typically gets in the way of us making clear, logical decisions in terms of what consequences to give to our children. How can we change this? One of the things that I like to talk about with parents is using a standard rule of 3. That rule of 3 is 1. State the directive. Tell your child what you expect of them. You need to have your room picked up, which means put your dirty clothes in the hamper, put your toys away, and have your books on their shelves by 11 a.m. You have 30 minutes to do it. Go back and check after 15 minutes. Have they started? If they have, great. Give them positive encouragement for getting started. If they haven't, rule number 2. You now have 15 minutes until your room needs to be picked up. If you choose to not clean your room, you are choosing to lose whatever it is you want to tag to this. Screen privileges, video games, television, cell phone, whatever it is you want to tag to their choice. Okay? Or something that might be a little more logical and applicable to that is if there's still toys on the floor, by the time it gets to be 11 a.m., guess what? You pick up those toys and they got to earn them back. Tell them, again, you have 15 minutes to finish cleaning your room. When there's 15 minutes up, it's now 11 a.m., go back and check. If everything's cleaned up, great. If there's still things out, time to follow through with that consequence. Pick up the toys, take them out of the room. Pick up the books, take them out of the room. If your child starts to argue, starts to push buttons, continue what you're doing and walk away. Don't engage with them. Engaging reinforces that negative behavior, that acting out towards you based on the consequence that they chose for themselves. Remember, that wording is so important. They chose it. Joe, with your experience in teaching or in coaching, what have been some of the techniques that you've used to redirect possible confrontations or keep them from happening altogether?
Hey Justin, thank you for sharing those tips, particularly the point about consistency. I talk a lot about the 3 C's being confidence, connection, and challenge. I'm working on a second set of 3 C's being choices, consequences, and then the consistency in following through on those consequences. That is the tough part. So I'm glad that you keyed in on that. Something else I wanted to share on this topic, and I think it's more of a proactive. We get ourselves into reactive states, and there are going to be those times where you're faced with a situation, which is why I love what you shared about that. I want to take another example, look at it from a proactive standpoint, and that's simply the example that comes up a lot with kids, particularly during the middle school years, wanting a pet or similar level of responsibility where they have promised you that they're going to take care of this pet. You won't have to do anything, right? They're going to clean it. They're going to make sure that it's fed. They're going to wash it, take care of the whole... Right. You know how that works out. So I had the classic conversation with a mom not too long ago. We were working the parent coaching situation, and she said to me, how do I get my child, daughter in this case, to feed the lizard? I said, what's the problem? Well, the lizard needs to be fed every 2 days. You know, there's crickets. Okay. Well, she just doesn't. So what happens then? Well, I do. I said, okay, do you like feeding the lizard? Well, no, absolutely not. She told me that she would take responsibility. I said, okay, you've got a couple of choices here. So this is where the story can go one way or the other. I said, on the one hand, you can sit down, lay out what the expectations are. What are those items that need to be taken care of? What are those responsibilities associated with this particular animal right now? You both agree to who is fulfilling which responsibilities. And if you don't want to take responsibility for any of it, more power to you, Mom. So sit down, agree to a set of expectations, number one. If the agreement is there and you both put your names on the dotted lines, then it's simply a case of what are the consequences, number two, if the expectations are not met. Be very clear about this. The lizard goes back to the store. We put it on Craigslist for somebody who can be a responsible owner, or whatever you'd like to set as the expectation, the consequence that goes with that expectation. Okay? And then, as Justin alluded to, the follow-up, right? Consistently implementing the consequence if the expectation is not met. And this was the critical question that came from Mom. How many chances do I give my daughter? I said, chances for what? Well, if she doesn't meet the expectations, how many chances? There is no chances. This is real situation here. You both put your names on the lines. You've agreed to this. This is a contract. Kids are wanting to say, treat me like an adult, right? An adult takes responsibility for the choices, lives up to the consequences. Okay, this is an opportunity. So, step number 3, make sure that the consequences are something that you can then step up and be willing to implement should the need arise. Okay? So, question to you, what did Mom decide to do with that when her daughter didn't meet the expectation? How do you think she handled it? Love to hear from you. Again, Justin, thank you for sharing your expertise on the topic. Look forward to talking with you about topics in the future. Take care, everybody.